Sometimes they have to be.
Hello, hello, hello. I see some familiar faces, and that can only mean we are going live shortly. And let's just go live. What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. We are back. I am your host, Stevie V, alongside Lionel Richie over there, Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. All night long, honey. All night long. We'll be
Ugh.
dancing on the ceiling. How you doing, boo? It's good to see your face.
It is good to see your face, especially after that week off from Turkey Day, Thanksgiving here in the States. But it's great to be back. And we love the show because it's video and we get to see each other. A little bit
Yep.
later in this show, we are welcoming back Amir Yass to the show. And if you remember, Amir was talking so much about his identity, about growing up Muslim, but now he has a brand new podcast that we are excited to talk to him about. And we welcome him into podcast land. The Vaultt Podcast is the name of it. So lots to talk to him when we bring him on. And I've got a few announcements to make also. We really want you to check out our Patreon, Tags Patreon community. You can grab the free account right now. Kodi, Lincoln, and I recorded a behind the scenes video on just kind of how we spent the holiday. I give you a little bit more insight into what's to come this month. And it's stuff that you won't hear on this show, but also if you choose to, and we appreciate it, to support Tags Podcast, the show you've come to know and love. We really appreciate it. You can grab a tier, and when you grab a tier, you get things like commercial free. You can grab our once a month bonus episode. It's an extra added bonus episode that we record for you that you get, and the brand new 50 and Fabulous. You don't have to be 50, I promise, but it's tips and tricks by yours truly on how to stay and feel your most youthful self, things that I've learned along the way that I'm giving to you. And I go in depth every week on that video series that you'll only get when you grab a tier. And right now, up until December 13th, it's 50% off your first month. 50% off your first month. So why not grab a tier and support us? Get that first month at least, and visit us at patreon.com/tags podcast. Patreon.com/tags podcast. If I didn't mention it already, this is episode 622. If you're keeping track, I know it's a big number there, but let's get into hot topics. So much to talk about, including Billboard Magazine came out with the greatest pop stars of the 21st century. I don't know that they've done this before, Kodi, because they've done various years of the 20th century. Because if we were to go into that, we would be, of course, including my Madonna
Yes.
and Michael Jackson and on and on and
Yep.
on. But at least they're doing this for the 21st century. And who came in number one was none other than Beyonce. So no doubt that she did. And I've really come around with Beyonce, but forget about me. She has just from the girl group of all time Destiny's Child to all, I mean, when you look at the impact that she's had on the music industry, it's no doubt. And a lot of people were a little bit, the Swifties, a little miffed that why didn't Taylor? But if you remember, Taylor Swift didn't come onto the scene until 8 years into the 21st century. Beyonce had already been in the mix for all those years, giving us everything for all those
Yep.
years. And I think it's rightly so that she is definitely the artist of the 20th century. Before I get into the rest of the list, obviously
Okay.
you agree because I know you're a Beyonce fan.
Beyonce's Stan. I just looked at my Apple Music Wrapped, and because I'm an Apple Music head, and she is the number one artist for me of last year, and she's the number one artist for me of the century as well, just like with Billboard. I love Beyonce. I feel like this is just rightly so. She has won. She is the hardest working woman in show business right now, and she has just given us so many gifts and so much passion and performance. And she's the hardest working woman. So I love it. I'm happy that Billboard recognizes her, and I can't wait to see what else is next.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this kind of makes up for her snub for the Country Music Awards, if you will, when she really did have, was it the number one country music album out there?
Yep,
And
pretty
I'm not
much.
even a country music fan. My boyfriend is, and we went to a bar here
What
in
did
New
he
York.
think?
I think he's in the corner over there. What did you think of, just a yay or nay? Did you like
No
Beyonce's
pressure.
country music album? A thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up from a country music fan. So
Woo!
yeah, and we go to a bar here once in a while called Flaming Saddles, which is, think of that movie Coyote Ugly, where they get on the bar and they do these dances periodically through the night, and they're all really sexy guys in tight ass jeans, and they're doing line dancing. And every other song, I was wondering, I like this song, I like this song. If it wasn't a Reba McEntire song, turns out I'm a Reba
I love
fan.
Reba.
It was a
I know, right?
Beyonce. It was a Beyonce song from the new album. So to me,
Love
this kind of
it.
makes up for that. And to be, I'd rather have, forget about the country music, to be the 21st century. You know, I mean, that's big. This is bigger. But let me read you a couple of the names out of the 25 lists that they list that made the list. I already said coming in at number 2 is Taylor Swift. Number 3 is Rihanna. Number 4 is Drake. He's probably happy about that, given his war right now with Kendrick Lamar. Coming in at number 5, Lady Gaga. No surprise there. Number 6, Britney Spears. Number 7, sorry to say this, Kanye West, but he did have a huge impact, especially early on in the 2000s. Justin Bieber, of course, at number 8. Ariana Grande at number 9. Adele, Usher, Eminem, Nicki Minaj, Justin Timberlake, Miley Cyrus, Jay-Z, Shakira at 17. The Weeknd at 18. BTS at 19. Bruno Mars, yeah, at 20. Lil Wayne at 21, One Direction 22, Bad Bunny 23, Ed Sheeran 24, and Katy Perry made the list at 25 of the top, according to Billboard, the top, the greatest pop stars of the 21st century. Do you like that list?
I like it. There's a couple clankers in there. You mentioned Kanye, and Katy Perry for me is a no-go. But everybody else I feel like is a contender. Maybe Nicki Minaj too. Shh, don't She's on the fence for me
Oh.
though. Yeah, because she had a lot to say and it wasn't
Wait,
all
Nicki's on the
very
list, correct?
knowledgeable. She's on the list, yes.
Oh, I love Nicki, and I'm glad she made it. Definitely.
She's a
I
good
mean,
rapper.
it's impact, whether it's not necessarily like whether these were people that
Yeah.
you know made you happy or anybody. It was like their impact on, and she definitely, and a lot of people always like to put her and who's the other one they put her against?
Megan Thee Stallion, who
No,
I love. Oh, Cardi B, who I really
Cardi,
like.
but I like her, but she has literally one album. That,
It's true.
and she's
She
done
needs to come out with more
songs
music.
where,
Yeah.
you know, Nicki has done several. Okay, let's move on. And I hear some comments there. Bryce says, sorry, Kanye can have several seats. Yeah, I kind of agree with
I
you.
agree. Yeah.
You also say Bay's growth of musicality over the years is exemplary. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
would agree with that. Okay, let's move on.
Couldn't
We've
put
been
it better.
talking a lot about, yeah, we've been talking a lot about Blue Sky, on how we've moved over there. I'm currently on Blue Sky at TAGSPodcast. Kodi is at Mr. Maurice. And I'm really loving the feedback I'm getting on Blue Sky. In fact, recently I've noticed a lot more interaction over there with what I post that I didn't see over at Twitter, or X as they're calling it now. But one, this is some good news. If you thought about the relevance and the millions of people that have migrated over to Blue Sky. Libs of Tik Tok, which is known for anti-LGBTQ, anti-trans, and really hateful messaging that they've put out there on Twitter, decided to create a Blue Sky account over on Blue Sky. Well, they have been not removed, but suspended for several weeks, which is a good sign that Blue Sky is on it and that they are not letting these things slide. And when you heard about that from the get-go, we've already been reporting on this, on millions of people migrating over, that weeks into this, Libs of Tik Tok made their way over there, started their hatred. What do you say to this?
Yeah, I want to say nanny boo boo to Libs of Tik Tok, because haha, you got suspended. And this really makes my heart swell, because I know, right? I know it is juvenile of me, but it's my prerogative, right? So it just makes my heart swell, because with all of the less than thrilling news that's been in the news recently, that's been threatening our communities. I mean, just look at what's going on with the Supreme Court right now. I think that this is showing that there are actually people in our corner that are more than willing to go to bat for us. And I really, really love that Blue Sky, the Advocate, reached out to them for a response, and they didn't say anything. They basically were like, we said what we said. It is, they're done. They're suspended, and you know what it is. You know exactly why. We don't even have to say anything about it. So they stand on business, and I am so here for it. It makes me feel like this is a safe space for me, and for me to express myself, and no hate will be allowed, which is sorely missing when it comes to Twitter.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Let's move on. I was just looking for our special guest to see if he had registered. Has he registered on your end?
I don't see him. I just messaged him. That's what I was doing.
Really quickly. Did you register? I don't see you on here.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's weird.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't show sometimes.
Yeah, Amir.
Okay.
Are you in the room? Is he in the room?
He's in the room, but I don't see him on here. We just need to see our special guest in the room so we can invite him up. But we will move on for a second. Can you monitor that while I move on really quickly? Okay, well, one thing that we have to shout out to is a show that I'm dying to see. And actually, I have tickets for in London for my birthday. And it's Devil Wears Prada, the musical, starring Vanessa Williams as the lead. She's going to be playing. It's on the West End, and it's 18 years after the film's release. The musical finally made its debut on the stage adaptation's world premiere on London's West End on Sunday. And it was a who's who of people that came. First of all, Elton John wrote so much of the music for it, and which is amazing. Like I said, Vanessa Williams plays Meryl Streep's part, which is great. People that were there, we've been talking a lot about Luke Evans. Luke Evans and Fran Thomas, his partner, were there on the red carpet. Jake Shears of Scissor Sisters was there also.
I love him.
You love him. Donatella Versace showed up. Jay Manuel, remember from fans of Tyra Banks' show, America's Next Top Model. Lavoie, great performer, drag queen. Love Lavoie. Jerry Mitchell, who actually did a lot of the choreography for this show, of course, was there with his partner. Michelle Visage was there. We all know her. Elizabeth Hurley and her son, Damian Hurley, who were in a film recently, if you recall, that they had a steamy scene together. I know that's kind of eerie and weird that her son and her would be in a film. Yeah, look it up. It was a little cringy, but maybe not as cringy as you think. On and on and on, but I'm so excited for the show. Graham Norton was there, but this is the show, Devil Wears Prada, the musical. Of course, it will probably make its way over to Broadway like it should, but I can't wait because I've said on the show before, I'm such a huge, huge Vanessa Williams fan. I see everything that she does. I saw her earlier this year. I've interviewed her back in the day, and she has a new album out that's amazing. And I already have my tickets for my birthday because we just had to go, my sister and I. So cheers to the Devil Wears Prada musical. We had to shout out, and I see our guest on there, which is really great. And I love that. And we have time. I can actually rest assured and move on, which is really good. Okay, we got to talk about this next story and get it in because, you know, you all know the song YMCA, The Village People, correct? And
it's burned into my brain.
Yeah, well, it has made its way back into the pop charts, if you will, 50 years after it came out, which is hard to believe. And it's, as you may know or you may not know, the next president, sadly, I don't even want to say his name, has adopted it for all of his rallies. And he does that stupid dance in all of his rallies that he's been doing. And to be honest, the lead singer of YMCA at first didn't want him to be playing it, Victor Willis, who wrote the song, who's the original lead singer of The Village People. He didn't really want it played in any of these rallies. Well, he lost that battle and he's also married to a lawyer too, his wife. You know, politically, the Trump administration was able to get that song and play it, and there was nothing that he could do. Well, he's changed his tune since he's seen his pop song from years back, 50 years ago, go back up the charts. And now he's embracing it. But he also has something to say that it was never, ever meant to be a gay anthem. And he's going as far as to say that he's threatening to sue anyone that's labeling it a gay anthem. And I watched him on an interview earlier this week, and the interviewer was saying, listen, I'm gay and I grew up with this song and it was a gay anthem. And he was challenging, like, why you don't, I think what this guy didn't get was that nobody sets out to write a gay anthem. It's adopted by a community. Sure, he said he wrote the song for the YMCA because he saw the YMCA in whatever city it was, and he saw all these men. But when you read the first lyrics of the song, look out, young man, let's all come together into the Y, come together into the sauna, into the Y. It's like in the 70s when gay culture was culminating in places like this, and we had to do everything underground. It's like, come on. But I don't think what he gets is that nobody writes a song for that. It's adopted. And why not continue your surge of a song that's 50 years old and just embrace it? Whether you wrote it for the community or not, it was embraced by the community. And don't show your backside to that community. What do you say?
I say this is the gayest song that ever existed in life, and he has no right to take it away from us because.
By the way, like I hate the song. It's like I've never liked the
song. Oh wow!
I participated in the YMCA because I felt like I had to, and in peer pressure. But in reality, I hate the song. I've never liked the song. I don't like them. I think they're cringy and weird, but that's just me.
Well, this is clearly just a flip-flop for money. I think that for him to denounce a community that he has supported, or it was okay for him for this to be associated with gay people before, and now clearly there's an issue, and he was standing on the fact that it was a gay anthem and he didn't want Trump to play it back in the day, and now he's flip-flopping. It's just all for money, and it's sad, and he's tarnishing his legacy, and he's tarnishing the legacy of the Village People, and I just really think it's horrible. He should have stood on business and really just stood his ground as far as this was concerned. But you never know what people are going to do when money is concerned, and this just really disheartens me because this was so instrumental in my gay formative years, and this helped to make me the cop and the Indian and the cowboy and whatever I am.
I was rolling my eyes throughout that whole time.
Definitely the Leatherman.
And I just think It's Raining Men was probably never meant to be a gay anthem, but it was
so
embraced
good
by the community, and that artist didn't have a problem with it. And I just think you're right. He's flip-flopping, and we've been reporting on these angry men, Jerry Seinfeld, who I love, a few others who've kind of come back into the spotlight all these years, and they're coming back angry and denouncing like their material and what it meant. And it's like, all you sound is angry in today's culture. And it's just like, let it go.
Curmudgeonly.
And don't ruin your legacy when we thought of you in one way. Like, I didn't think about the Village People that much, but now I'm angry about them. And now I want nothing to do with that song or any of it. I'm just... Ugh.
We can't dress up like them for Halloween?
No, we can't. And let's invite on that note, to the stage.
Welcome to the stage.
Amir Yass.
Yes.
Let's see. Our special guest.
Welcome to the stage.
We've had him here before, Amir Yass. Hi.
Hi, darlings. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
You have been busy since we last had you on the show, but you were a fan favorite with us. We're really happy to have you back.
Thank you so much.
Also have a brand new podcast. Welcome to podcast land, called the Vaultt Podcast, and so much to get into. First question though, you didn't talk about your podcast when you came on last time. I noticed you launched the podcast post-election. It's the perfect podcast we needed when those first few weeks, many of us were feeling really down and out and lost, and where do we go now? And all of a sudden, Bravo shows kicked back in. I'm watching The Housewives of Beverly Hills again. I finished Orange County, and it's my little escape. Why now in this sea? And was it strategic to launch post-election?
That's a great question. Like everyone else, I mean, I live in Orange County, so you can't turn a corner without running into a Trump dick, right? They're everywhere. So you just can't avoid it. Even on the dating apps, I always write like, no MAGA, and it's like really hard to like avoid it because it's everywhere.
Really?
Yeah. And
Orange County for sure.
Oh yeah. It's very, very red. Very, very red. I mean, it's gotten more progressive. Like they voted for Biden more than they ever have. But, I have a neighbor with like the January 6th flag. So they're like very Trumpy. Yeah. So it's okay. I mean, listen, I've gone to the place as an adult, as a 38-year-old girl living her life. I allow people to have their own opinions. Everyone can have an opinion. That's how the world works. But I just don't like disrespect. So the day that he, who shall not be named, was voted, this is what you guys wanted. And so it's a joke now. He's putting all these crazy people in cabinet. This is what you wanted. So you got what you wanted. But please don't message me saying he's the best president ever. Let me suck your dick. Because it isn't going to work. It isn't going to work for me. So
maybe the second part.
Listen, I'm like, if you want to suck my dick, don't talk politics. Like,
correct.
That's probably the best way. Let's go about it that way.
Just keep the dick in your mouth the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Choke on it. I don't want you to talk. Like, I don't need to hear what you have to say. Like, so that's where I'm at. Well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So
go, anyway, Kodi, because we got so much to talk. Yeah, go ahead, finish.
No. But I was just going to say, like, quickly, but, the reason we launched right around the time of the election was initially we wanted to kind of tackle some political stuff. But then I was like, no, because I've done that before on my last podcast. We really got into politics and we talked about, even Israel, Palestine. It got very heavy. So I wanted to do something personally for me that's just a little lighter. So covering Bravo, I love Housewives. Like, I just love it all. So, and I've been around it from the beginning. So I wanted to dive in. So it wasn't very strategic, but it worked out.
Nice. Love that. Well, since we're on the topic of the Housewives, when did your love affair for the Housewives and all things pop culture, when did that come about?
So, I mean, growing up in Orange County, there's not a lot of people in Hollywood, even though it's so close to Los Angeles. So I always wanted to be in film and TV. And growing up in a conservative, like, Muslim family, that was not an option. It was like, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be an engineer. That was it. So for me to kind of want that, like basically made me move to LA. And so I was 18 and I worked in PR. I worked for all these celebrities, and I always loved just like the paparazzi early 2000. I saw Paris Hilton get like, literally they like stuck her into an alleyway. They were taking 100 pictures of her. And I was just like, fame is just so alluring. And again, I hadn't done therapy. I hadn't like worked on myself. Now I know it's very toxic. And, you know, working in PR for 15 years, I saw people's lives fall apart. So for me, Housewives were always, I was just always around it. And ironically, the guy that created Housewives, his daughter went to my high school. So I was there when he was pitching it to my dad, actually asking for some money. And my dad's like, who's going to watch a bunch of women going to lunch? So it's funny how far
everyone.
Everybody.
Everyone is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't want to watch that?
Absolutely. It's so funny, so that you were in PR, as you say, for 15 years, and now you're almost on the other side of it. For years, I had a site, progressivepulse.com, and we didn't have A-listers, but we had more innovative artists, but we were always dealing with a PR executive, and they were always named Allison or Megan, I was convinced. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
And there was always a clipboard or an iPad letting you in or not letting you in. Right. What is it like now? Because now you're trying to actually, so you were kind of the gatekeeper for 15 years for clients. Now, and I listened to the great episode that you had with David Yontel of Behind the Red Carpet, which is really good. He's like one of the of all things Bravo. And one of the things you said on there is, and what he was divulging on there was, you know, getting PR people to say yes and going through the runaround. What's it like being on the other side now of trying to get some of these people on your show when you did this as a PR executive?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, listen, I was always the one that was so annoying that would like stop the interview. So when I worked for Michael B. Jordan, he wasn't very media trained. So he would say kind of the wrong things. And so I would always have to jump in and kind of be like, okay, you can't ask that, or let's rephrase that, or let's, you know, because they'd ask about his dating life. And I think that, you know, interviewers have gotten more savvy, but in early 2000, like they were a lot more crass, like, who are you fucking and stuff. And so it was very like, they would just ask those questions. Bad. Oh yeah. And so I would step in and we did our job really well. So you never knew who went to rehab or who was, you know, sleeping with a prostitute. Like we were very, or sex worker. We were very clear about.
Thank you for clarifying. Yes.
It's fine. We're
There's somebody that has an OnlyFans. I appreciate that.
Oh, I've seen your Twitter, honey. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Hey. Huge fan. So I think for me, like, I think navigating all that stuff as kind of someone who's there to be seen, not heard. It's just weird to be the one that's kind of speaking on stuff. And so I quit my job in 2019 and then got on TikTok, and then the pandemic happened. And I think being on TikTok, talking about celebrities and kind of letting people behind the velvet rope is why I grew immensely on TikTok. And then that kind of made me feel more confident. And now I just use my TikTok and Instagram because of the people that follow me. I just reach out to them. It's always a warm, I don't do the cold emails or go through publicists because they're just not going to help me. And after I jokingly said that Michael B. Jordan and I slept together, that like spread like wildfire. So no publicist is gonna ever talk to me again. So I have to go around like I just meet, like tonight I'm meeting Katie Janela from Housewives for drinks. So I just do that where I kind of build relationships like that and then get them on the podcast.
Oh, that's fabulous.
And you're so fun and likable. I could see what people would want to come on. Yeah.
That's nice. That's really nice. I appreciate that. I try. I mean, I was so intense for so many years, and it's so nice to be able to just create content and make people laugh and not have to be like a PR executive, because that's just that job I was good at, but it wasn't like who I am, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Well, we've established that you're in the know and you have all the inside tea. I'm just really curious, because you know all of these things, and I'm sure you don't tell all of the things that you know. How do you draw that line between being salacious and gripping the people and just spilling too much tea, basically?
Well, you know, like I learned my lesson, you know, when I was on Heather McDonald's podcast. And I talked about so many celebrities, and the fact that like I had 100 voicemails the day after that interview, and, you know, the Shade Room, it was at 1 million hits, and I was getting lawsuits thrown at me for literally an irreverent joke about me and Michael B. Jordan having a moment. Again, I thought we had a moment. That's just me. And it was just a joke, really. Nothing ever happened. Because if something happened, I wouldn't have ever talked about it again. If I had sex with Michael B. Jordan, you better believe I would never mention it again. So it was so funny. And I really learned a lesson about like, you can burn a lot of bridges really quickly, because I am kind of flippant and, I'm a comedian at the end of the day, but I also have to understand. And you guys were talking about this a little bit with like the YMCA song and how people don't intend things to become like a gay anthem, but they kind of do. Gay men our humor is a little different. That's why we kind of love drag queens and we love that kind of humor. So I think when it comes to like, straight people, they sometimes they're like, oh, if he said he had a moment, that means he slept with him. So I've learned that I have to watch what I say and, and also that? Even with, that part.
Who said that?
You do.
No, you're not at all.
But you bring up really good points. I mean, I think you're learning now with the podcast. You've been on podcasts before. We certainly know this. 8 years in, 600 episodes, that what you say, you have to own it. And we as hosts, we don't, we talk a lot about celebrities on this show, pop culture, but we say stuff about our sex lives on this show. And I've asked all my hosts, listen, if you don't want to say something, it's out there, and everybody gives me the okay. But there's something about podcasting that you don't get on Entertainment Tonight, obviously, and other entertainment shows that's more real and raw, and this phenomenon. I just wanted to switch gears, though, because something that I heard on your show, Bravo is skewed more towards women, although the gays love it. The queer representation in a lot of these shows, as you were talking about on that show that I listened to with David Yontel, is minimal. And when they do, they seem to clutch their pearls a little bit about somebody sleeping with or kissing another woman. What can you say about that? And do you think that percentile of gays or LGBT listening is bigger than we think?
I think it's bigger than we think. And to speak about you guys talking about your sex lives, a lot of these fans here are freaky deaky. They were sending me some fun DMs. Y'all are kind of freaky. So I'm expecting some of those DMs to come through. That's always fun for me because I'm a big flirt. I'm a Gemini and I love to flirt. So please DM me. Like, I'm fine with it.
Okay, we're officially putting it out there. Yes, for you.
Yes, please. But yeah, to answer your question, I think that, obviously a lot of gay men and drag queens will even do, like I was in Canada and they were doing like Dorinda from Roni as drag. Like, I think we love like strong, independent women. And, I was talking to, we had a guest the other day and she made a good point. She's a writer in Hollywood and she's like, can you name 9 shows with exclusively female run women in their 40s and 50s that's ensemble cast? It's probably 2 shows, Yellow Jackets and, Girls 5 Eva. It's like 2 shows. What other shows can you name that is scripted? We just don't have that. And now you have 9 franchises of all female cast, all different types and colors, body types, ages. I mean, so I think that's the beauty of Bravo. But I think, again, I don't know why they still clutch their pearls when it comes to like any kind of queer representation. And even when Bronwyn was on OC and she was like, she later came out as gay. It was like, it's very like, well, she was married to a man. And it's like,
yeah, it was like,
we're aware of
all
it.
This, like, who cares? But great. Yeah, exactly.
Or
even Kyle, when rumored to be kissing this other country singer or whatever, and it was just like a huge deal was made out of it, and it's like, who cares? But what about her marriage? And that was more, so just
right
give us a little more credit.
Way to handle it.
Yeah,
there's a correct way to handle it. And I think, Angie's husband on Salt Lake City, he handled it really well. He said, you guys are saying I'm gay. I'm not. What I'm upset about is not that you said I was gay. I'm upset that you're saying I'm cheating on my wife. So that's the correct way to handle it, right? That is the correct way to respond. So when Denise leaves the show, because they said she slept with Brandi Glanville, and then she starts doing lawsuits, a lot of the Bravo fans, I've gone to BravoCon, they're older women in Florida. They're a little bit more closed-minded when it comes to queerness. So I don't know if the show's trying to kind of appease them, but sometimes that does frustrate me.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I've noticed that the podcast is really housewife centric, but you do talk about other topics as well and other pop culture phenomenons. How do you choose what you're going to talk about and basically what you're going to cover?
That's a great question. I mean, I think I kind of try to go where I'm interested. At this point, I've interviewed like probably 700 plus people with my Instagram live and then my podcast. Like I've interviewed so many people, and the best interviews are the ones that I actually cared about. Even if like, okay, you need to interview this person because it's current. Like, I don't care. Like people have reached out to me from like Mormon Wives or like 90 Day Fiance. I'm not interested in those shows and I don't watch them. So I don't want to interview you. Because even if it's going to get the bites and the clicks and the whatever, I know that for me, if I'm not interested, you'll see it on my face. And the other day I was doing an interview and I wasn't interested and I caught myself on the camera rolling my eyes. So I have to be very cognizant of like, because even on a date, if I'm not interested.
That sounds like something I would do.
Please don't roll your eyes on a date.
Oh, I have. I went on a date.
Quietly excuse yourself.
No, I'll roll my eyes because he was just so aggressive about why I was wearing a jacket and it wasn't cold. And I was like, I'm from California. I can wear a fucking jacket if I want to. Like, thank you.
Who cares? That's
wow.
rude. Well, do you like Drag Race? Because I would like to come on and talk about Drag Race.
Yes. I love Drag Race. I'm really good friends with Bruno, who's like in the pit crew. And so I love the drag queens. I know he's so hot, right?
I think we can all agree on Bruno.
I'm always
Bruno.
He's
yeah,
hot. And I
we're
love
using you to get him on this show.
Yes. Oh yeah, you guys want it.
You can come on too. We can all do.
We
can have a
definitely want him. That's not the problem. But
yeah, I'll ask him. I'll definitely ask him. I would love
that.
a little four-way.
Yes. Okay. Well, I love your story, and it's kind of similar to my story on how I started in radio and communications. You were in PR, and you're pulling all these things, and I only interviewed two who I liked as well, and I really think that's really important. And I just think you're doing something what's really great. And what can you say about that? About only I had my question here and I know what I was going to say. I was going to segue into co-hosts are so important, obviously, on this show. And if you listen to our show from the get-go, we had hosts that aren't here anymore, and we've evolved. Now we can kind of pick and choose and pull. And how did you choose Monica? Is she really your best friend? And what's the chemistry that you bring to your new podcast?
I love that question. Yeah, me and Monica go really way back when people were sending me death threats over the Michael B. Jordan thing. I mean, it was really bad. Like, it was on CNN.com. It was international news. It was in Germany. And every time he breaks up with a girlfriend, people assume he's back with me. And, when he broke up with Lori Harvey, it's crazy. It's truly, if it wasn't a pandemic, like, I would have been interviewed by TMZ. Like, it was that big of a deal. Like, it was just a pandemic. So they wanted to do interviews, but like, it wasn't possible. So it really affected me, and it burned a bridge, and I know that he probably saw it and was very disappointed. So she was very supportive in that time of me, and really took me under her wing. I was on her YouTube show, and we really built a relationship, and she always uplifted me, and I always kind of uplifted her. And she has so much experience with All About the Tea. I mean, we're very different. And that's like what we bring to the show, but we're just could not be more different, but we just kind of get along. So I love it. And it's kind of like you guys, the way you guys have chemistry. Like, obviously Kodi is very unattractive, hard to look at, so I'm sure that's difficult.
I mean, let me get I got to put the curtains in front of my face right now, actually.
Yes.
Love it. Yes, we keep him on for his TNA for sure. No,
my tit.
There it is.
There has to be something for everybody, for sure.
I know, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Nipple never hurt nobody.
We want to keep you on for a couple of hot topics that we think you would weigh in on, but we need to just let people know the new show is called the Vaultt Podcast. It's available wherever you get your podcast. Where else do you want people directed to so that they can hear your fabulous brand new podcast?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcast, and then it's the Vaultt Podcast page is our Instagram, and then my Instagram is Amir Yass Official. So DM me, follow me. I mean, I'm very unhinged, so feel free to put me on mute, but just follow me. It's fine.
We will list these on show notes, and I understand you want us to be guests on your show. So
Yes.
whenever you want us, let us know. We would love to. We're really excited. But let's bring you into a couple of hot topics that we think you would, the word of last year, we thought in the summertime was Brat Summer by Charlie XCX. But it turns out there was another word that actually triumphed it, I feel, and it was called Demure. Do you remember when Demure became? And dictionary.com actually labeled it the word of the year, as queer as it can be. And it was all started by TikTok creator and transgender icon Jules LeBron, when she coined the phrase, very demure, very mindful, in a now viral video. And it became the phrase, and she continued to apply her demure philosophy to situations like job interviews, boarding airplanes, talking to friends, existing in public, and just about every way she saw fit. She says, you see how I do my makeup for work? Very demure, mindful. And she said, very, and she went on and on about what demure really means. I actually talked to a friend of mine who's a fashion VP for a huge brand, and brought that word to his meeting of executives, and they incorporated that word into the new thing. What do you think about Jules and how this word is becoming even bigger than Brat Summer? Let's just start with you. And are you demure?
I'm more cutesy. I don't know if I'm demure. Like, I don't, am I mindful? Not really. Like, I'm a Gemini.
Yeah, you're maybe not demure, but that's okay. You can still like the word.
Okay. I'm cutesy. I love a good trend on TikTok, and I love that, she was able to pay for her, surgery and pay off a lot of bills. And I think that's wonderful. What did bother me is a lot of really straight accounts that never do pride, never post anything, all started posting that. So I thought that was a little unfair. And I would have loved it if you're going to support like a queer creator to like have given her some money or some product. Like, they didn't do any of that. So that was kind of frustrating. And then that lawyer guy that tried to get her copyright, I mean, luckily she got it back. But that kind of stuff where I'm like, dude, what the hell? Like, let her live. That was annoying.
It looks like she has product coming out now, though. If I'm not mistaken.
I think she got the copyright back. I'm pretty sure.
So she's had some dramas, of course, with all this, but we wish her well. And to be listed in dictionary.com as the word of the year, I mean, that's like really amazing. Kodi, how do you weigh in on demure? Are you demure? And do you see going into 2025?
I mean, don't you? I just used it the other day. I feel like I am the most demure on this cast right now. And you know what? I really enjoy this because I feel like this highlights how much queer people influence culture. And if we didn't know it before, we definitely know it now because it really went viral and was everywhere. So this is really just a statement to queer people and how we influence society and culture.
I love it.
I'm just so happy for Jules, and I definitely can be demure, but I've always been one of those chameleons where 1 minute I can be chaotic and brat, and the next minute I can be demure, and then everything in between. If you can see me in my sweatpants, all huddled up with messy hair, just working on this show where I'm nothing and I'm everything in between. So I'm a little bit of both of those. And I think I'm just really happy where we love Charlie XCX, but she doesn't need her word in the dictionary.com.
Right.
I think it's just really amazing that we adopted Demure, and her tips about how to use it, I think, are really good because everybody needs, when you're trying to get a job, as crazy as you want to be, it doesn't fly to be totally like, your pink eye makeup going all whack-eyed and all that kind of stuff. So let's just be honest. Like, do you want the job or not? Be demure.
Yeah.
So yeah,
be
plenty
demure.
of time to be brat outside of it. Okay. And then of course, let's somebody we talk about on this show, Lil Nas X, has some life advice for everybody. So he's been getting a lot of, he's trying to release his second album. If you remember, he had all of these hits for so long, And then he actually released a second. He had the documentary that did so well. Then he was going to release an album that he only put on SoundCloud. It didn't get any traction, and he had a video, Kodi, I can't remember the name of it, that was very religious inspired, that he must have spent like $1 million on, it looked like, that went nowhere on the charts. And now
was it Jake Price?
Yes. And now he's scrapped all that. He's moved to New York. He's stripped everything away, and he's coming back with some new music that sounds really good. He was on a radio show recently performing a new song, and it's really good. He talks about people going kind of from fame to being the other direction, going down, and how he's kind of been humbled by it. But at the end of the song, in the verse, he says he basically wants that boy. He wants to jump on that guy's ass. He wants to jump on that guy's basically dick. I don't give a and the lyrics are really out there. Well, a lot of his fans, and you have to keep in mind that as he is an African-American performer, Black Twitter and Black audiences are always going to come, I feel, at him a different way than other audiences. Do you agree with me, Kodi? And they were accusing him of being fake. And his final advice, just to put a pin in this, was basically just like, he had some life advice. Basically, like what you like. You don't get to take any of this with you in this lifetime. You don't get to take friends, family, loved ones with you. So by all means, like what you like now.
Yep.
And I was kind of here for it because he was clapping back at the haters. Let's start with you, Kodi, because I know you know a little bit more about the story, and then we'll hear from Amir.
Well, I love this. I think that Lil Nas X is out here preaching truth and facts. I do agree with you that the Black community can be a little bit restrictive when it comes to LGBTQ plus issues. And I can imagine, because I haven't actually seen the tweets or whatever that were going out at him, I can imagine that they were probably pretty harsh on him, especially considering what he had brought previously, especially with because the Black community can also be very religious. So him having all those religious effigies and things of that nature that are not really promoting or uplifting Christianity, I can see how they could have a little side eye for him. But I'm glad he is.
Real quick there.
Go ahead.
Just really quickly, where a white artist like Madonna back in the day, she didn't really get away with it. Yeah, she didn't really get away with it unless she lost the Pepsi deal, but she managed to make all her money back later on from that same song, and now it's an anthem. Whereas maybe a Black artist is there, and the Black community is not as forgiving.
Also, a straight artist, because I guess maybe him being gay and Black, he gets scrutinized even more.
That was my point. So thank you. Yeah,
Kanye West also did it with, but I think lesser acceptability than Madonna did. So I can see all of those facets going into this.
Yeah.
But my final answer is, I feel like I'm on The Biggest Loser, or what's the name of that? That TV
How to Be a Millionaire.
Oh yes, there it is. My final answer is, I'm glad that he's out here letting people know how he feels and what the actual truth is. We're not going to be able to take this with us. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It just matters what you think and how you feel.
Yeah,
as long as you're not hurting anybody.
Yeah, it goes back to what you were saying earlier on being on podcasts, being sued for Michael B. Jordan comment, or almost being sued for it, and saying what you mean, saying what you want. Now you have your own platform. What do you say about Lil Nas X, and how can you relate or not relate to it?
I think from a PR standpoint, I really liked him, but I feel like when he was twerking on the devil and stuff, it just started to feel like, wait a second. And then he did the blood shoes. Remember the Nikes with the blood in it? It just started to feel like you were just trying to shock and awe us. And I don't personally like when celebrities do that, because I feel like it's very forced. So I just think he did all that, and then now is like, okay, people just hate me. And it's like, wait a second, but you did some kind of off color things. So I like him, and I think that he's a great vocalist. He's a great person to shake things up. And again, I do believe like Madonna got away with it. So, and I think that, you know, I saw it because a lot of the death threats that I got when the whole Michael B. Jordan came out was a lot of straight Black men that were telling me that I should kill myself and they hope I die for outing a man, and how disgusting that they hope I get HIV. I mean, I heard it all.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. I've heard it all. So, and it was mainly Black men, Black straight men. Actually, the most supportive were Black women who were like, I don't think you were outing him. Because that was really hard for me to kind of wrap my mind around, like that I had outed someone. So I can see the Black community being very restrictive. And, you know, I've been with DL men who are Black, and they have like, you know, they're people that are involved in the church and stuff, you know, so it can get very complicated. With the Black community, with queerness. So I don't blame him for like wanting to do it, but I think sometimes he goes a little too far. Like selling the blood shoes, I was like, I don't know if that's great.
Yeah, I agree with you both. I think that I'm a fan. I'm interested in what he has to say. I think when you do go far, I think that you shouldn't really apologize. And I feel like he saw some of the repercussions and now he's just totally stripped down. I do think, though, that being said, as he is a person of color and particularly Black, the rules are different for a Black artist, a Black queer gay artist. And so I think he's really navigating it well, and I'm still interested, and I still want to know what Lil Nas X is doing. And I love the 2 new songs. I'm anxious to hear the new album. So, yeah, it's tricky, but I'm excited for him in many ways.
Me too.
So, yeah, so we'll see where that goes. We want to thank you, Amir Yass, coming on again. We will welcome you anytime. You're practically our other co-host. And
wonderful.
The new show is called the Vaultt Podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts, and people can follow you on one more time. Let us know how we can follow you.
Sure. Yeah, the Vaultt Podcast page, and then Amir Yass Official, you can follow me. And then my co-host Monica, All About the Tea. She breaks a lot of news, so it's really fun. But yeah, I can't wait for you guys to come on. I'll reach out to Bruno, and then maybe we can have like a little kiki together on this, and then you guys can come on mine. It'll be great. It'll be wonderful. And I want to come on a spicy episode too. I see are a bit spicier, so I'd like to.
Well, we wanted to talk about your show, but let's do spicy next time.
We can amp it up, girl. Don't worry.
I like it. Oh, now I'm worried. I'm like, oh.
No. You asked for it. Yeah, no.
Too late.
Don't be scared.
Thank you, Amir.
Thank you. Bye.
We'll
you can take
soon.
it. Bye, boo.
Okay.
Bye, sweetheart.
Bye. Love it. Oh my gosh, so fun. Always
so
love it.
Fun.
I can't wait to go on his show. And Bruno, yay.
I know,
right? We've watching us live. Alan says Lil Nas X can do whatever he wants as long as he keeps having those hot backup dancers.
Ooh,
okay,
girl.
That's good.
They are delicious.
And Bryce agrees. I agree as well, but I like him too. And so, okay. Shall we give some advice? Yes.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
We have time. Let's give some advice. And so this one comes from Reddit, and it was, how much weight do you put in texting when you first start dating someone? This is a tricky one, right, Kodi? Because it's like a squirrel. You have them in your arena and the acorn's right there and they're right there. You just don't want to like blow it, right? The person writes, I'm 38, male, recently had a poor experience with a person who's 34. I met off of a dating app. For more context, this was over a span of 2 weeks. We had a great time in person for the first 2 days. We both discussed what type of relationship we were looking for and what our values were. I mentioned to them on the first date that I don't consider texting a great way of getting to know someone or gauging interest, as it builds a false sense of intimacy because there's a lot of context that is missing. I agree with that. From precious experiences, I found that when we do finally meet up after texting so much, there really isn't much to talk about, and the date goes poorly. I said as long as we were planning dates to meet that it would be enough for me to know that there was interest to keep going, and they agreed. Between dates 2 and 3, frequency of texting increased about mundane conversations. I'm very busy. I do the best to respond what they were putting out there, but I couldn't give it my full attention. And fast forward to the night before our third date, and I get a rant about how they feel I wasn't trying to get to know them and that our text convos have been very dismissive. I apologize for it, as that wasn't my intent, but I did reiterate that we had discussed that texting wasn't the best way to get to know each other. I put out there that I wasn't treating him any differently. Most of my texts usually consist of sharing memes and making plans like with his friends. And I also said that the frequency depth of combo was not likely going to improve and that we should only be planning dates at this time. They did not like the response and canceled any future plans. I don't know how to make myself clearer. Does anyone else believe the same? And yeah, this is a tough one because
this is I like it.
This is interesting because it went from 0 to 100 to 0 in such a short span, and I think in those early periods it's a fine line of how much you're texting. And I know, like, even with my boyfriend now, we don't really text that much, but we call each other throughout the day here and there. And it's not like we're on the phone for hours and hours. In fact, it's usually like checking in with each other and maybe if there's something going on, and then we move on. But that's already 6 months into it. I think early on you want to keep some interest going, but intimate details I think you should keep to meet in person. What do you say?
I say text as much as you want to text. I feel like if you're in a relationship with somebody and you're in like those initial stages, maybe cut it back just a little bit. But after maybe a month or two, they need to know who you really are as far as your texting and communication is involved. So I say text as much as you want to text because you don't want to be holding yourself back. But I do think that this person that wrote this Reddit did the right thing by saying that they are not a communicative person via text. I think the fault was on the person that was receiving this information because they didn't communicate their needs. They just, after they weren't getting what they needed, they just flew off the handle and ended the relationship. When they really could have communicated that they needed to experience text more in order for there to be the bond or to feel a growth. So I feel like as long as you communicate what your communication experience is like, then you're in the clear, because either they'll accept it or they won't.
The early days are hard with relationships too.
They are.
Because I've heard stories from friends that have told me, you say one little thing, you don't say something in a timely manner, and it's just misread. I think, I think you can, say stuff in your profile that says, I'm not a big texter, but I'm more of an in-person meter, and stick to that and remind that person that you do better in-person communicating. On this show, we do, just to give a little example, we're super close, but when we have something to say that's a little more important, we wait until either we're on a call, we're in person. With my relationship, I also wait till I don't have a lot of these conversations on text, because I just feel like they're going to get misconstrued. They're not going to be read well. But you just want to show your interest at the same time too. So consistency is good too. Alan, watching us live, says people have very different views on conversations in general. Some people would rather text than talk on the phone. Some people feel that texting is inadequate. It's hard to gauge when it's a new relationship. Try your best to read the room. And you have to try your best, to your point, Alan, is if you're dating somebody, if you're of a particular generation age and you're dating somebody that's of a different one, you almost have to keep that in mind too. Not that everybody falls into the patterns of their generation, but you can either ask them. I don't think I'm reading the book How to Be a Super Communicator, and there's no problem asking early on, like, how do you want to be? I wouldn't say too early on, but if you're on date 2 and 3, it's not a problem to actually ask what you want. Oh my gosh. And that's the end of the show. We want to thank our special guest, Amir Yass. So love him coming on the show.
Wonderful.
So wonderful. I want to thank my co-host, Kodi. You can follow him on the gram, Mr. Maurice, or on Blue Sky at Mr. Maurice as well. Follow me on Blue Sky at TAGSPodcast, also on Twitter at TAGSPodcast, where you get a preview of my Just for Fans OnlyFans. And right now, up until Friday, you can get 40% off of all of my adult content. So take advantage of it while it's hot. Don't forget about our Patreon page, patreon.com/TAGSPodcast. Grab a free tier, but also you can grab a tier, and up until December 13th, you can get up to 50% your first month. Follow me on the gram. I am _Stevie. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay
sex.
Lovely.